Alright, my friends, so let's go back here inside our photo list component, and we want to start making request. And in order for us to make a request, we need a library that will do that for us. So what I'd like to do here inside my terminal, I'm gonna install axios. So npm install axios. This is the library that you are going to use for making some requests. So I'm gonna click on enter. That will take a second, and it should be done doing that. And what we want to do here, let me just close this one so we can give ourselves some space. Here inside our component mount, once again we are going to do our request, and here is installing axios has finished. I'm gonna kill my terminal, this one right here, and here on the top I'm gonna import axios. So import axios from axios, which is the library that we have installed. And here inside our component mount, we want to go ahead and make our request. So I'm just gonna say const, let's call it, for example, data or response or whatever, and it should equal to axios dot get. We want to make a get request to the URL that we will get from this Unsplash, let's say, API. So I'm gonna right click on the documentation, click open in a new tab. Let's see what is the stuff that we want to pass, what is the things that we want to do, and so on. We want to read some documentation, and the stuff that I want to do, it is to list in new photos. This is the things that I want to do, because as a final result we have images that will show up here immediately in front of us. And this is exactly what this thing right here, because we don't want to search, we don't want anything, we want to list new photos. So I'm gonna click on it. That will open the documentation right here, and it's telling me that you want to make a request to /photos. We want to make a get request to /photos, but first of all we want to prepare the root URL or the endpoint. All right, so if you go all the way to the top, you will see, we have it right here. It is telling us that the API is available at this thing right here. So this is the base URL. Okay, so let me show you what do I mean. So I'm gonna copy it, going back to our React application. I'm gonna make a get request to this URL /photos, because this is the stuff that we want to do. We want to get a list of photos, and this is exactly what they have told us right here. So let me see if I can go back here. Photos, where is the photos? Yeah, we have it right here. So it's telling me that you want to make a get request to /photos, but the /photos needs to be after the base URL. So this is the base URL, and we want to make /photos. And the second thing that we want to do, it is to go ahead and give it some configuration right here. And if you don't know exactly what configuration that you want, what is the stuff that you really want to do, then it is not a matter, but it is something that you want to read more about the documentation. Because once again, here on the top, after we give it the base URL, here it's telling us that you have to give it the client ID. All right, here is for the authorization stuff. We want to give it in the headers to authenticate request in the way pass your application access key via HTTP authorization header. So it's telling us that you want to set the authorization property to this thing right here, and the authorization, it is need to be inside the headers. So I'm just going to say headers equal to this thing right here, and I just want to give it the authorization and pass it my access key. So I'm just gonna say authorization equal to the client ID. Okay, and this thing right here need to be in a string. All right, so here I'm just gonna say client ID, which will be a string, plus I'm gonna concatenate my script key. All right, and here what I will do, I'm gonna go back to my application, which was images gallery. I'm gonna scroll, come on, open it while it is loading. I'm gonna scroll to the bottom, we can see the access key. I'm gonna copy it, and going back here, I'm just gonna paste it right here. And instead of paste it, and I'm gonna create a variable here on the top. Let's call it const ABI key, all right, like this, equal to this thing right here, which I place it in a string, all right. And here on the bottom, I'm just going to concatenate my ABI key with the stuff that I have right here. So let's go ahead and take a review of what we have did. We have made a GET request through axios to this URL, which comes from the documentation, the base URL plus /photos, because we want to get the photos, a list of photos from the specific ABI. And we have set the configuration object in axios like this, which telling us that we want to specify headers. The authorization property need to be client ID plus the ABI key that we'll get from the Unsplash. Once again, this is all written in the documentation and we need to read it like this. However, this is not done because this thing right here, we have told you that it's gonna return a promise for us. So that's why we need to await it. This is how we can handle promises. And since we have used await right here, we want to mark the parent function to an async function. So here I'm just going to say async like this, and that should do the job. And now what I'd like to do here inside the component mount, after we get the information, I'm just gonna say log data. Really simple. And if we switch back to our application right here, I'm gonna click on inspect and switch to the console. We cannot see anything because this photo list need to be added to the app.js. So I'm gonna remove my hello world and I'm just gonna say photo list like this. All right, and that should do the job for us. Hopefully we don't have any issues. Here we have the we have an error right here, and the problem right here is that we have the 401, which is unauthorized error. Okay, we have a problem right here. Let me show you. We have a problem right here in this specific area. All right, and now what I think the problem is that let me just go back, and here we have the client ID. I think we need a space right here because it is not available to concatenate them directly. We need some sort of a space. And if we go back, and indeed we got the information back. So if I reload, once again, we got this information that comes from photo list :19, and this is the line that we are doing our console.log, and we have the information back that got from the ABI. Once again, the only part is missing. It is to go ahead and use this information. So in this video, we were successfully to make our first request and we got the data back. So hopefully that makes sense. Feel free to watch this video twice if this is if it was hard for you to understand. The only error that we got is that we need to add a space right here because I want to separate the client ID from the ABI key. So hopefully that makes sense. Thank you, my friends, so much for watching. See you in the next one.